It's Matt Page from Dream the Electric Sleep. Thanks so much for sending so many questions to the band. They were varied, and we got lots of them. And so I've tried to divide those questions up into sort of maybe different sections. Might be a long video, so I may end up cutting it into smaller sections and posting them separately. At any rate, I'd like to address as many as I can, just because I appreciate so much you taking the time, not only to listen to what we do, but then to actually want to engage it further. So thanks for that. It makes me feel inspired as well. So first thing I'll do is a couple of you, more than a couple of you, sent in some of your favorite tracks from the new old album. And so I thought I would just sort of go through some of those. It seems like there are some common ones that people like. So it looks like Stephen Draw, and I apologize if I mispronounce names. I'm just going to read them. I've got them all listed in front of me on a screen, so I'm going to just sort of read from them. Really likes The Stage, Father Francis, I believe we'll see as well. Psycho Funk Soldier 21, really likes We Smell the Blood, Father Francis, and River Current. I will say that I also love River Current. That album, this old album, The Giants' New Ground, again, was a big leap for me. I'd never written lyrics for an album before, sort of taken on that front person position. So every song was just like a new venture into an area I'd never been. And so, Father Francis was the first song Joey and I wrote together for this project. And so it holds a sort of a special place in my heart, just because I remember writing it and giving that demo to Joey. And I know he was like, oh my God, can Matt sing? Can he write lyrics that aren't terrible? So we laugh about that quite a bit. So he said that as soon as he heard it, he felt so much relief, thought, okay, we can do this. So Father Francis definitely holds a special place in my heart. River Current, also trying to sort of bring in some of that softer singer-songwriter work into something that I knew would be probably heavier and more rock-oriented. So that was like, can we do this? Can I bring in something as quiet and subtle as River Current? And what will it turn into? And of course, I think you can hear our attempt to bring those things together with that large ending like that. Some of my personal favorites from the album would also be The Stage. I think that one had a lot of nice acrobatic jumps around from different perspectives. And one that probably no one would mention as being a standout track, but to me, it was one of those that sort of captured something for me personally, and that would be Dirt Under Your Feet, which again is a very quiet tune. What you hear on the album is actually, it was all cut in GarageBand, whenever that was, 10 years ago. And I remember writing guitar right there on the spot. I recorded it, just a random-ish sort of arrangement, and then listening to it and just lyrics flowing out, cutting the vocals in one take, listening back and adding a little bit of keyboard in there to sort of glue it together. And that was it. I was done with that song, and the thought of recutting it never sat well with me. So what you hear is about as honest as it gets. That happened all within maybe an hour. And I love that song because it also just lyrically captures how I felt at the time, which was sort of, again, this constant search for a resting place, despite sort of the chaos of my life and my emotional and creative life, which was very tumultuous. And so this idea of sort of falling back to earth and just sort of feeling real again for a moment and finding some other way to go in a more quiet place. Ironically, in my mind at the time, it was that landing spot was my wife's family farm that we had always dreamed of moving to. And as I record this, I am in the studio that I built on that farm where I now live. And so that's sort of this album, part of the reason I wanted to redo it was because so much of what I had dreamed about in writing that album came to be because of all sorts of things: luck and chance and hard work, perseverance and patience. And so anyway, it's interesting to see how your art can also shape the way you move in life. And again, why I believe creativity and imagination is such a powerful, if not one of the most powerful, motivating forces in our lives. So anyway, I'll get to that a little bit more. So again, just a little more about the new album coming out, which obviously I hope you are enjoying. And if you haven't listened to it yet, go to all the usual spots and find it. We are going to eventually release a physical copy of the album, CD, vinyl. So we're thinking about how we want to do that and possibly partners who might want to do that with us. So anyway, maybe let me keep going on here. So Rob Watson asks, what is your favorite song to play live? Again, this is just me speaking. I don't know about Joey and Chris, and I think we should probably have them jump in on some of this stuff too. So we'll work on that. I mean, my standard favorite song to play live is the Joneses. And anyone who's seen us play live, we almost always play the Joneses just because it's so much fun. And it's one of the first songs, I think, where Chris, Joey, and I really came together as a band and felt like we could find a space for all of us in what we were doing. And it's fun to sing those 3-part harmonies in that song. And there's a long break where I'm not singing and I just get lost in the music for a few minutes, since a lot of our music is vocal heavy, and I'm singing a lot, so I'm kind of locked into that microphone. It's nice to just back away from it and just let things go for a while. I think that probably will happen some more on new material too. We hope to have some of those spots where I can sort of just step back for a minute and just, get lost in the music. I'm sure there are many other favorite songs to play live, but in the order to save some time, I'll move on here. Let's see. So, Clinton Jurgens, any idea when the next new album will be coming and what direction it might take? Our hope is the new album will be ready for release in the spring next year. Why is it taking so long? Well, any day now, my wife and I are expecting our first child. So I've been a little distracted over the last 8-9 months now. And so we're having a daughter, and I am elated, and I can't wait to raise a little farm girl out here in Kentucky. So anyway, that's kind of slowed us down a little bit. That's okay. The band is in it for the long haul, and so it's not a big deal for the band. It's just a big deal for me personally, and it's kind of slowing some of the stuff down. As for the direction it might take, Michael Beinhorn is having an enormous influence on what we're doing in a very positive way, helping us really articulate the things that we want to articulate right now. I would say that it's probably going to be, it's the first, I'll go ahead and say this, I think it's the first album where all three of us are equal contributors on every part of every song. In the past, on other albums, for sure, Chris might write a part, and then Joey and I play what we want, but it's still based around what Chris has written, and then we incorporate that, and then maybe I write a part with Joey, or Joey writes a drum beat, and then I write to it. So it was definitely a little more fragmented in terms of how we wrote the songs and put them together. But every song on this album is the three of us in a room writing every second together. And I think that will be really interesting to see what that yields. We already think it's a better album because it really pulls together all the strengths that each of us have. I always think of the three of us as songwriters first and our instruments are second. Joey could have been a singer. He could have been a guitar player or a bass player. It doesn't matter. He would have been a songwriter. I could have been a drummer. I could have been a keyboardist. Chris, same way. We all think of the song first, and we just happen to play the instruments that we play because we've been playing them for so long. So anyway, I think this will really showcase the three of us as the songwriters that we are and what that collaboration really looks like. So that's the most I can say at this point about the album. Progressive Music Planet, any plans to do a 10-minute epic? We never plan on song lengths, and we typically, just from the way we write songs between 4 and 7 to 8 minutes. We've been close to the 10-minute territory at some point, and we always say that if a song happens to come out to be 10 minutes or 15 minutes, that's what it needs to be. So I think that's sort of, we don't plan on writing any length song. Certainly, we wouldn't shy away from it. And we've got some new material that is a little longer. And so maybe we'll get to that 10-minute mark. Let's see, Rick Recco, what new recording gear did you have fun with recording the new album that you didn't have last time around? Since we don't record our own albums at this point, we did in the past, but at this point, we work with other people. So I'll speak to gear that I used on the new album that I really liked. I recently have sort of gone all in with the Vox AC30. Which is a classic amp. I think in the context of what we do, it adds a different kind of bite in front of what Chris and Joey lay down, which is sort of big and bombastic, and just to have that Vox AC30 sound, I think is a cool sonic combination. I didn't use it as much on the new album because I was sort of getting used to how a Vox might sound with what we do. And so on the Giants New Ground, you do hear a Vox mixed with a Bassman and an Orange that the studio had, and a Marshall. So I was still kind of bouncing around between quite a few amps. I think on the next album, there may be more focus on particular tones. And sort of showcasing a certain blend, maybe in the way you might think of an album like Moving Pictures, which has a really distinct sort of sonic landscape. And I am interested in trying to sort of maybe find a different sonic landscape using that Vox AC30. Let's see. Oh, and I also really like this goes into the next question from Blake Beamer. Hi, Blake. What are your favorite pedals on your board right now? The pedal I can't get rid of, let's put it that way, which must mean I love it a lot, is it's the Full Drive pedal from Full Tone. I just love that pedal. It just sounds so good. It's not too grainy or gritty. It's also but it does have bite. It's got nice body to it. I don't know that it would work for everybody, but for me, especially running through that Vox AC30, it just sounds so good. The other pedal that I like, but I don't use as much, but I really love the pedal, is the Leslie Hammond pedal that they put out. And I still really like just a basic Memory Man for delay. So those are just some things that I really like on my pedal board. I have other things, but things come and go. Anyone who plays guitar or bass and has a pedal board, you know how that goes. Okay, so I'm gonna move on now to questions that have to do with sort of inspiration.